Equity Mate!
I will say this about investing.
G'day Equity Mates, this is Alec, or as you may know me, Ren, and today we're trying something new with our Thought Starters, our weekly email that is the most interesting way to start your week. 5 interesting articles in your inbox every Monday morning. No better way to start your week and no better way to procrastinate at work. So hopefully all of you are reading the email, but we're going to try something a little bit different today. We're going to try just quickly talking about what some of the articles talk about and why you should read them. If you haven't signed up to Thought Starters, hopefully you will after this video. Go to equitymates.com/thoughtstarters to sign up today so you don't miss out. But without further ado, the 5 articles from this week's Thought Starters. So number 1, we somewhat self-indulgently actually just published an article that we wrote, and we published it on the Investors Podcast website. It's titled Investing in Australia, 3 Megatrends Playing Out Down Under. And essentially, a megatrend is a global change in everything, in society, a change that affects everything, society, politics, economics, everything. Some examples these days are, the aging population, the growth of the Chinese middle class, the change to a clean energy grid. And what we do in this article is we talk about 3 global megatrends, and we talk about how they're playing out in Australia and how certain Australian companies are being affected by them. Some positively and some not so positively. So if you're a long-term investor, megatrends are a great way to invest in structural changes in the economy and society. And so hopefully you can learn a thing or two and also think of a few investment ideas out off the back of that article. Number 2 for Thought Starters is Shane Oliver's 9 key lessons from 35 years in the markets. Now, most of you have probably heard of Shane Oliver. If you haven't, he's the chief economist and the head of investment strategy at AMP Capital, and he is one of Australia's best known market commentators and personalities. So he's had 35 years in the market, he's very accomplished, he's very smart, and so those 9 lessons are probably lessons that we can all benefit from, investors of all levels. And so after the 9 lessons, he also finishes with his 9 keys to successful investing. Don't ask me why he likes to group things in 9, but I guess it's good. It's more for us to read. So, you got 9 lessons, and then you've got 9 keys to successful investing from one of Australia's best investors. So hopefully you all learn a thing or two from that. Number 3 is the Yale Endowment 2018 update. Now, for context, one of the things that really surprised us when we started Equity Mates and started learning more about the world of finance is that some of the most sought after jobs in finance are not actually on Wall Street and are not actually at some of the global banks, the big financial institutions. It's actually college endowments are some of the most prestigious investment jobs going around. And these endowments are huge. Yale has an endowment of $29 billion, and the job of investing that money goes to a team headed by one of the best known investors, David Swensen. And his investment strategy at Yale has been tried, a lot of people are trying to replicate it in endowments and funds and family offices across the world. But David Swensen is a really well-respected investor, really got a really long-term strategy. Because if you think about an endowment, it's money that people have donated to these institutions. This is serious long-term investing. This is intergenerational investing. This endowment should last beyond, it should last for centuries, really, in theory. And so, as an investor, you truly have the luxury of long-term investments. So, fascinating case study with a really good investor. Yale's 2018 update is a really interesting read, and something that probably a lot of investors and people interested in markets aren't really aware of, this whole world of endowments. So hopefully you get something out of that. Number 4 was a bit more interesting, a bit more light, I guess. It's about the money managers to the NBA super rich. I'm sure a lot of people are watching the NBA finals right now. Klay Thompson of the Golden State Warriors is one of the basketballers that this guy, Joe McLean, manages money for, and his life is it's pretty spectacular. It would be pretty fun to be a money manager to some of the richest and most successful sports people in the world. And if there are any sports people that are looking for someone to help them with their money, Bryce and I from Equity Mates would be more than happy to take that on as a part-time job. So give us a yell. Last article in Thought Starters today is a letter from Heyman Capital Management and funds manager, and they've written about a quiet panic in Hong Kong. And it seems that in the middle of the US-China war of words and escalating trade war is Hong Kong, who obviously is part of China, although it has its own sort of unique situation, I guess. But it's also home to a lot of Western capital, and a lot of Western businesses their Asian operations are based in Hong Kong. So it leaves Hong Kong in quite a precarious situation, and Heyman have done a really interesting deep dive on the situation, both financially and politically in Hong Kong. So something that probably a lot of people aren't aware of. I definitely wasn't aware of it before I read this letter, but a really interesting situation that's playing out and probably will continue to play out as this US-China trade war and tensions escalate. So a little bit more of a somber note to end Thought Starters on this week, but hopefully something that people find interesting and get a lot out of. So that's the 5 articles from Thought Starters this week. If you've missed it, if you haven't signed up yet, you can check out old editions at equitymates.com/thoughtstarters, and conveniently that's where you can also sign up for next week. So make sure you check out the website, make sure you check out Thought Starters, and hopefully all of your weeks got a little bit more interesting. So until next week, enjoy.